punctuation.
The colon is a punctuation mark consisting of two equally sized dots centered on the same vertical line. A colon is used to explain or start an enumeration. A colon is also used with ratios, titles and subtitles of books, city and publisher in bibliographies, business letter salutation, hours and minutes, and formal letters. In Unicode, it is encoded at U+003A, HTML, and number 58.
Usage.
The most common use of the colon is to inform the reader that what follows the colon proves, explains, defines, describes, or lists elements of what preceded it. In modern American English usage, a complete sentence precedes a colon, while a list, description, explanation, or definition follows it. The elements which follow the colon may or may not be a complete sentence. Since the colon is preceded by a sentence, it is a complete sentence whether what follows the colon is another sentence or not. Some writers prefer to capitalize the first letter after the colon. Others do not. Both are correct in American English usage. Some writers use fragments, incomplete sentences, before a colon for emphasis or stylistic preferences, to show a character's voice in literature, as in this example. Writers often also do that in social media such as tweets because the number of characters is limited and they are trying to say as much as possible in as few characters as they can while maintaining somewhat correct grammar usage. Please note that a colon, and a semicolon, are not interchangeable in grammar and that the usage of both has changed over the last couple hundred years. This is the contemporary usage of a colon in expository writing or literature. Older literature such as novels or plays may use it differently. The Bedford Handbook describes several uses of a colon. For example, one can use a colon after an independent clause to direct attention to a list, an appositive or a quotation, and it can be used between independent clauses if the second summarizes or explains the first. In non-literary or non-expository uses, one may use a colon after the salutation in a formal letter, to indicate hours and minutes, to show proportions, between a title and subtitle, and between city and publisher in bibliographic entries. Luca Cirini, an Italian scholar who helped to define and develop the colon as a punctuation mark, identified four punctuational modes for it: syntactical deductive, syntactical descriptive, appositive, and segmental. Although Cirini wrote this guide for the Italian language, his definitions apply also to English and many other languages.
Business letter salutation.
One of the ways used for salutation in a letter other than to use comma is to use colon, though more common practice is to use the comma.
Syntactical deductive.
The colon introduces the logical consequence, or effect, of a fact stated before.
Syntactical descriptive.
In this sense the colon introduces a description. In particular, it makes explicit the elements of a set. Syntactical descriptive colons may separate the numbers indicating hours, minutes, and seconds in abbreviated measures of time. British English, however, more frequently uses a full stop for this purpose.
Appositive.
The colon introduces an appositive independent clause. In other words, the sentence after the colon is in apposition, grammatically parallel, to the one before the colon. Please note that this could also be simply considered an explanation of why Bob could not speak, and written without the capital He after the colon. Both would be technically correct. An appositive colon also separates the subtitle of a work from its principal title. In titles, neither needs to be a complete sentence as it is not expository writing.
Segmental.
Like a dash or quotation mark, a segmental colon introduces speech. The segmental function was once a common means of indicating an unmarked quotation on the same line. The following example is from the grammar book The King's English. This form is still used in written dialogues, such as in a play. The colon indicates that the words following an individual's name are spoken by that individual.
Use of capitals.
Use of capitalization or lowercase after a colon varies. In British English, the word following the colon is in lowercase unless it is a proper noun or an acronym, or is normally capitalized for some other reason, for example see segmental use here and before. However, in American English, many writers capitalize the word following a colon if it begins an independent clause, that is a clause that could stand as a complete sentence. This follows the guidelines of some modern American style guides, including those published by the Associated Press and the Modern Language Association. The Chicago Manual of Style, however, requires capitalization only when the colon introduces a direct quotation or two or more complete sentences. In many European languages the colon is usually followed by a lowercase letter, unless the uppercase is required for other reasons, such as for a proper noun. However, usage differs from this in German, where an uppercase letter may be used only if the sentence after the colon could stand alone without the preceding sentence, otherwise one may judge freely according to the relative independence of the two assertions, and in Dutch, where an uppercase letter must be used if the colon is followed by a quotation or an enumeration of complete sentences, although in all other cases a lowercase letter should be used.
Spacing.
In print, a thin space is traditionally placed before a colon and a thick space after it. In modern English language printing, no space is placed before a colon and a single space is placed after it. In French language typing and printing, the traditional rules are preserved. One or two spaces may be and have been used after a colon. The older convention, designed to be used by monospaced fonts, was to use two spaces after a colon.
History.
English colon is from Latin colon, plural cola, itself from Greek kolon limb, member, portion, in rhetoric or prosody especially a part or section of a sentence or a rhythmical period of an utterance. In paleography, a colon is a clause or group of clauses written as a line. The OED cites William Blade's The Life and Typography of W. Caxton, 1882, pages 126. The Greek grammarians called a complete sentence a period, a limb was a colon, and a clause a comma. Use of a symbol to mark the discontinuity of a grammatical construction, or a pause of a length intermediate between that of a semicolon and that of a period, was introduced in English orthography around 1600. John Bullock as an English expositor, 1616, glosses colon as a mark of a sentence not fully ended which is made with two pricks. John Mason in an essay on elocution, 1748, prescribes a comma stops the voice while we may privately tell one, a semicolon 2, a colon 3, and a period 4.
Ipa Diacritical Usage.
A special triangular colon symbol is used in IPA to indicate that the preceding sound is long. Its form is that of two triangles, each a little larger than a point, dot, of a standard colon, pointing toward each other. It is available in Unicode as modifier letter triangular colon, Unicode U+02DO. A regular colon is often used as a fallback when this character is not available, and in the practical orthography of some languages which have a phonemic long-short distinction in vowels. If the upper triangle is used without the lower one, it designates a half-long vowel.
Word medial separator.
In Finnish and Swedish, the colon can appear inside words in a manner similar to the apostrophe in the English possessive case, connecting a grammatical suffix to an abbreviation or initialism, a special symbol, or a digit, for example, Finnish USA, N and Swedish USA, S for the genitive case of USA, Finnish %sa for the inessive case of percent, or Finnish 20, in for the elative case of 20.
Abbreviation.
In Swedish, the colon is used in contractions, such as S, T for SANKT, Swedish for saint, for example in the Stockholm metro station S, T Eriksplan. This can even occur in people's names, for example Antonia Ax, son Johnson, Ax, son for Axelsson. The colon was also used to mark abbreviations in early modern English.
letter,
The colon is also used as a grammatical tone letter in Budu in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in Sabort in Kenya, in some Gribo in Liberia, and in Papua New Guinea, Irima, Gizra, Gabosi, Gortaik, Kalulai, Kamula, Kajra, Kunibuzi, and Zimakani. The Unicode character used for the tone letter U plus A789 modifier letter colon is different from the punctuation, U plus 003A, as well from IPA's triangular colon U plus 02DO.
mathematics and logic,
The colon is used in mathematics, cartography, model building and other fields to denote a ratio or a scale, as in 3:1, pronounced 3:1. When a ratio is reduced to a simpler form, such as 10:15 to 2:3, this may be expressed with the double colon as 10:15 to 3. This would be read 10:15:2:3. Unicode provides a distinct character U plus 2236. Ratio for mathematical usage. In some languages, for example German, the colon is the mainly used sign for division, instead of slash. The notation G, H may also denote the index of a subgroup. The notation F, X, Y indicates that F is a function with domain X and codomain Y. The combination with an equal sign is used for definitions. In mathematical logic, when using set builder notation for describing the characterizing property of a set, it is used as an alternative to a vertical bar, which is the ISO 31-11 standard, to mean such that. Example. In type theory and programming language theory, the colon sign after a term is used to indicate its type, sometimes as a replacement to the symbol. Example. Some languages like Haskell use a double colon, to indicate type instead. A colon is also sometimes used to indicate a tensor contraction involving two indices, and a double colon, for a contraction over four indices.
computing,
In computing, the colon character is represented by ASCII code 58, HTML and number 58, and is located at Unicode code point U plus 003A, colon. Scripts comprising wide characters, such as kanji, use a full-width equivalent, located at Unicode code point U plus FF1A, full-width colon. Several programming languages use the colon for various purposes. A number of programming languages, most notably Pascal and Ada, use colon immediately followed by an equality sign, equals, in which case the colon and the equality sign are considering to compose to an independent assignment sign. This can be represented in Unicode as U plus 2254. Colon equals. Labels, targets for jumps, notably Goto, but also some switch statements, are general formed of a label name followed by a colon. These include C and DOS batch files. For the double colon used in computer programming, see the scope resolution operator, and class member access of C++. The colon is also used as part of the conditional operator in C and other languages. In a number of languages, including JavaScript and Python, colons are used to define name-value pairs in a dictionary or object. The colon is also used in many operating systems commands. It is often used as a single postfix delimiter, signifying a token keyword had immediately preceded it or the transition from one mode of character string interpretation to another related mode. Some applications, such as the widely used MediaWiki, utilize the colon as both a prefix and postfix delimiter. In Wiki Markup, the colon is often used to indent text. Common usage includes separating or marking comments in a discussion as replies, CWP, indent, or distinguish certain parts of a text.
addresses,
The colon is quite often used as a special control character in URLs, computer programming languages, in the path representation of several file systems, such as FAT, following the drive letter, as in C, \Windows \, and HFS. In an IPv6 address colons, and one optional double colon, separate up to 8 groups of 16 bits in hexadecimal representation. In a URL, a colon follows the initial scheme name, like HTTP, and separates a port number from the hostname or IP address.
Other languages.
In BASIC, it is used as a separator between the statements or instructions in a single line, which is represented in other languages via the semicolon. In Forth, colon precedes definition of a new word. Haskell uses a colon, pronounced as cons, short for construct, as an operator to add an element to the front of a list. While a double colon is read as has type of, confer scope resolution operator. The MIL languages, including Standard MIL and OCaml, have the above reversed, where the double colon is used to add an element to the front of a list, and the single colon is used for type guards. MATLAB uses the colon as a binary operator that generates vectors, as well as to select particular portions of existing matrices. In Python, which uses indentation to indicate blocks, the colon is used in statements to indicate that the next line is the start of an indented block. APL uses the colon to introduce a control structure element. In this usage, it must be the first non-blank character of the line, after a label name that will be the target of a goto or a right-pointing arrow note. This style of programming is deprecated and programmers are encouraged to use control structures instead, to separate a guard, Boolean expression, from its expression in a dynamic function. 2 colons are used for an error guard, 1 or more error numbers. Colon plus space are used in class definitions to indicate inheritance. In the esoteric programming language Intercal, the colon is called toSpot, and is used to identify a 32-bit variable, distinct from a spot, which identifies a 16-bit variable.
Internet usage.
On the Internet, a colon, or multiple colons, is sometimes used to denote an action or to emote, similarly to asterisks. In this use it has the inverse function of quotation marks, denoting actions where unmarked text is assumed to be dialogue. For example, colons may also be used for sounds, for example click, though sounds can also be denoted by asterisks or other punctuation marks. Colons can also be used to represent eyes in emoticons.
Encoding.
U+003A colon, HTML, and number 58, U+FF1A full-width colon, HTML, and number 65306, U+02DO Ipa triangular colon, HTML, and number 720.